Resignation from Destination Great Lake Taupo and Enterprise Great Lake Taupo of Seamus O'Sullivan. Now, Seamus has done a lot of work over about a 4-year period, would that be right? About 4 years that I can remember, about 4 years I've been here, helping with both these organisations. He's given his heart and soul, in my opinion, free of charge. As I've said many times, volunteers aren't paid because they're worthless, it's because they're priceless. And Mr. O'Sullivan, in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll concur with me, certainly fits that statement. And so it was great sadness that we got his that he did tender his resignation. It's been a very tumultuous time for Destination Great Lake Taupo and for the whole Taupo region in the last year or so, with the recession that we've had and a fair bit of hurt in the commercial business district of the whole district. So a very, very sad day. I would like to think that we could have some sort of farewell for Seamus sometime soon going forward, and perhaps present him with some sort of token of our all our appreciation, and with your goodwill, I will try to organise something, or Ms. McCard, if you'd help us organise something along that vein. But unfortunately we are left with no option but to thank Mr. O'Sullivan and accept his resignation and move forward. But again, I'm only repeating myself, a big thank you from me, and I know it's on behalf of all of you. Seamus did a wonderful job for Taupo. He's going to leave very, very big boots to fill, and I certainly hope he stays on the periphery and helps where he can in the future, because he's an invaluable man, in my opinion. So, not much more I can say. Unless, Mr. McCard, do you wish to say something? You work very closely with Mr. O'Sullivan. You know his passion and his abilities, so perhaps you might like to extrapolate on my comments.
Oh, I think I need to just endorse the amount of voluntary time that Mr. O'Sullivan was actually putting in. He's certainly worked very stoically for the district. When I used to get calls at over the weekend, or at very inconvenient hours for him, I'm sure. So he really did put his effort in and it didn't ask for any form of remuneration or any for the work that he was actually putting in there. So he certainly took the issues by the scruff of the neck and gave them a good shake, and really did make some changes for us, and we needed somebody to push those things along, so that was really appreciated.
So perhaps we could have just some sort of, perhaps after, we'll just have to get a date that suits Mr. O'Sullivan. Perhaps after the council meeting or something, we could perhaps give him some sort of token of our appreciation and maybe have a few drinks with him, and as a big thank you. So we'll report back to you via the emails or somehow in the loop or some way when we work it out with Seamus. So we just have to move forward and thank him greatly. But for me it was a shock and a disappointment, but hey, that's life, and as I say, it's he was great guy. What he did a lot of good work as far as I'm concerned. So moving forward, that's the suggested resolution that takes care of number one. It doesn't take care of it in total because we want to do some more thanks in that direction, but as far as the meeting here is concerned, moving along to number two, that the council agrees or does not agree to appoint a new trustee to the board of DGLT in accordance with the process for appointment outlined in the inception agreement for destination marketing and management. And Ms. McCade, you might like to add to that, but as I remember it, for us to appoint a trustee, we would have to go through a process of advertising, narrowing the field down, interviewing, etc., etc. I really would like to think that maybe, and I'll be guided by you, of course, Mr. McLeod, that surely there is a simpler way where maybe they could appoint their own or second, or what's the other word? Co-op. Thank you. But anyway, I'll leave that to you.
From my discussions with DGLT, they've certainly indicated they would like to see a trustee replaced, and I think that's related to the fact that they are still a very new trust. They've only been going for the last 7 months, and certainly Mr. O'Sullivan had always indicated that one of his jobs was to kind of build people up, because he had been on the antecedent authority, and to try and get new blood coming through. The Trust have indicated they would like to have the formal support of another trustee. Certainly they do have the ability to co-opt, but co-opted members actually have no voting rights, and also they're not entitled to any of the board remuneration or anything of that nature. So trustee position does take on quite a bit more responsibility. The process for appointing members to the board, one of the keys to it is around the fact that you need to bring in an independent person to give you some advice, somebody who's actually a professional in the field. That's part of the inception agreement. So the process for appointing new trustees is set out quite formally in the inception agreement, and needs to be followed if you do choose to go down that path.
Okay, so just the short version of that is they actually want us to go through the process again.
Yes, they do.
So we need to get an advert in the paper, and we get and find the applicants. That the council provides support and advice to the DGLT in the appointment of its new chairman. So I'm just a bit lost here. If we're going to do the interviewing, are we going to do it in conjunction with them? What are you suggesting here?
No, there's another part of because you'll recall that Mr. O'Sullivan was actually the chairperson of DGLT. It will be up to the board to appoint a new chairperson, and there is a little part of the inception agreement which also does talk about the fact that we don't make those appointments, but we do offer ourselves to give advice to the board should they require it in terms of making an appointment of a new chair. So that will be one of their members, not necessarily the person that we're appointing as a trustee.
Okay, so we need to go through this. So council, I'll open up to you, but so we just stick to number 2 at the moment. Council agrees or does not agree to appoint a new trustee to the board of DGLT. So where are we with that?
Well, I think this is really important, Your Worship. I would actually support the appointment of council making that appointment and going through. I know it's expensive, but I think it's really important to get the expertise on this trustee as a good trustee, and see if we can keep the momentum that we've perhaps got over the last 7 months to try and push it forward. I think that's really important.
Okay, so Councillor Downoaks?
I agree both on number 2 and 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
yeah. Similar things. Just on number 3, because I noticed Mr. McLeod talked about that. Would that advice come from someone like you rather than councillors? Would it come from management more so than governance?
Quite often in these types of situations, you get members of the board will come and have a word to members of governments rather than to bring it into a meeting, but just perhaps make an appointment to see the chief executive and the mayor and just say, by the way, we're thinking that this is the direction that we're taking, and just have a chat about that. And I think that probably that informal relationship is quite a good way of doing it. It just means that the chairperson is usually the person who does spend a lot more time in council, and I think those relationships are important, and it is good to make sure that there's a good match there.
Okay, so Rex, sorry, Councillor Minster.
Sorry, Eric. Just obviously we're working number 5, but we've got 2 positions available here. Have we had any feedback whether they want one person to fill both roles, or are we looking for 2 different candidates? Where are we at with?
I think it's more by chance that we had the same person filling both of the roles. When we originally appointed Mr. O'Sullivan, it was for EGLT, and when DGLT was going through some changes, he came to us and said, look, I'm quite keen on building up my skills in the area of this sitting on boards and I do have something that I think I can actually offer. So he put himself forward as being available for both. It may be that there is a similar situation out there, or somebody who would offer, but you've got to remember too that there's a lot of work involved in both of those boards, and you do need to have somebody who has the time and commitment. You also need to make sure that whoever goes onto the boards has the appropriate skills for the type of board that they're sitting on as well. We were lucky in the combination that Mr. O'Sullivan